Welcome to another episode of The Best Revenge is Good Living podcast. Now, your host, Larry Oaks.
Men and women will never see eye to eye. And the reason I say that is because they speak at least two different languages, in my opinion. They say women are from Venus, men are from Mars. I think men are from Earth and women are from Mars, or from another planet, again, in my opinion. But today I'm going to have a guest. She's been putting up with me for over 20 years.
Over 25 years.
About something like that. But, is a very, very smart woman, a boss in her own right, and in the things that she does on a day to day. It's my wife, Maureen,
Yay.
AKA Partygirl, in the house. But we're here today. We're going to be talking about the differences between men and women, how they get along, how they don't get along, and our opinions about everything in between. What do you think about what I said about men and women will never agree on anything?
I agree with that.
You're blowing my whole my whole topic
Well,
here.
I mean, yes and no. Like,
Okay,
okay,
more. I need a little bit more from that.
So the guy, yes, he can stand his ground and be all machismo and be like, no, just disagree because he's a man and just doesn't want to hear a woman. But then there's those other men that know how to get what they want by agreeing with a woman.
The beta males, the suckers, the guys that are around
If that's what you want to call them.
So the reason why I say that they'll never get along and that women are from another planet is just because, again, preface, this is all my opinion, but I think it's valid. It's through experience and it's through years of, living with you and, just years of experience, is that women will never take responsibility for shit. They won't. And, I've told you in the past that men are problem solvers. Women, they love the drama. They love the angst of life, the complaints of life. Men were just simple, from bottom up guys. And, when we're going to be talking about love languages, right? So I said there's at least two languages that we speak, and one of them is love languages, right? If you don't understand your partner or whoever else is whoever you're with, their love language, there's a disconnect, right?
100%.
And then if you can't communicate, as far as when I say women are from Mars and men are from Earth, is because men will speak to a man will speak to a woman and use plain English or whatever language they speak, but the woman will hear 180 degrees different than what the man said to them. You agree with that or what?
Yes.
So, so then men and women will and can agree. Is that what you're telling me?
No. If we're speaking of me and you, I think we have a difficult time with each other because we're both alpha males or alpha male personalities.
We're both sharks. We're both tigers. We're both the same species.
I grew up without a male figure in my life. So I grew up that women are boss. So, and it's hard for me to, listen to you and not that you're saying anything bad, but
just listen to me. To take instruction from me or take orders from me. No,
you or any man.
Right.
So I think us particularly for that reason.
Again, is that because the way you were raised, the way you were brought up, that you don't like to listen to somebody else? You like to be the boss?
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm. I think that in our culture, in the Mexican culture, that women are the patriarchs typically. The men are typically out doing man shit. The women were, in charge of the house. They were in charge of the micro, everything that goes on in between all that, the kids, making sure there's food, making sure the house is clean. And so because they did that they had the authority, they had to say so, because they were the ones that were actually doing everything. Mm-hmm. Right. And then that's what I know as far as the Mexican culture, and just by knowing, others, I've had, black friends, white friends, Asian friends. And I would say that runs along the same lines. Asians are more the male dominant, the women are more subdued and more, your typical, at least what I've saw, typical, they stay quiet and they do what they do as the women do. But, black females, mothers that I knew growing up, they were real strong willed, just like what you're saying, women they're strong willed. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is yeah, that is true, how you were raised and what you're talking about. What I'm saying is basically in a relationship situation, as you grow older and as you get into a relationship with someone, if you don't speak the same language, if you don't understand the same language, if you don't agree to disagree, then you're from two different planets,
No, I think you're just stubborn.
Well, I'm talking in generalities. We're talking to the masses here. We're not talking just me and you. We're talking to the masses about love language, about communication, we could take it to whatever thing. Yeah, me and you, obviously, we've had our issues over the years, obviously, but I'm just saying, in generality is what I'm saying here. My statement at the beginning was that I don't believe that men and women will ever agree, and if we were to agree on that, then I think things would be better, or could be better.
I just think there's with everything a compromise, and without that, then nobody's ever going to agree on anything. No one's, but somebody always loves somebody more than the other. So that person is always going to give in and go all the way instead of meeting halfway.
Mm. So who has to compromise, the man?
Whoever
loves the other person more.
Mm-hmm.
So if that person that doesn't compromise, they don't love the other person.
Not that they don't love them. They're probably just more stubborn.
Right. So let's get into the love languages for those people that may know what it is, that don't know what it is. So receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service or devotion, and physical touch. Those are the 5.
Yeah.
So receiving gifts, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, and physical touch. So basically, everybody is triggered, or everybody acts differently according to their love language. So like if we want to make it more personal, about with me and you, and about the things that we go through and all those things. So in my personal love language, I believe out of all these are acts of service.
Right.
And that goes, it goes back to how I was raised and things that, for me, when you do an act of service, whatever that is, for me, it speaks to me and it tells me you love me and all those things. And, for you, receiving gifts is yours is a physical touch, right?
It is, but
words of affirmation.
I can't disagree with the gifts, because growing up, my mom would hint around, like, I used to bring my mom a soda from school or whatever, and I knew what she was alluding to, so yeah. I would bring her soda, or I would buy her
so your
stuff.
Mom's love language was receiving gifts,
right? So that kind of stuck with me a little bit,
right? So
for me, I feel like that's how I show people how I love them,
right?
Like, example, the boys, I'm constantly buying them something.
Right, and you've always bought me stuff too.
Or my sister. Yeah, you. So I just feel like that would show, how.
But your personal.
For me.
And I think that there can be more than one love language, but there's usually one primary love language. But I think that we all have a mixture of them. But if you want to go primary love language, I think that yours is the physical touch. I think after physical touch would be words of affirmation. And then, and if we want to go into categories or whatever, then I'd say the receiving gifts for you, and based on that, and me, I think that the words of affirmation really for me is my number one, even though, I say that the acts of service, but again, like what you're saying, like for me, that's coming from growing up, we had to clean the house, we had to clean our clothes, we had to clean our, clean the yard and all that stuff. If I wanted to do certain things, I'm going to do those acts of service. Acts of service was my mom's love language. And so I believe, just like as you were saying, that, you would take your mom sodas, or, she would kind of hint around that she wanted things. And so partially you were saying that receiving gifts, you wouldn't count that out as your love language, right? That's what you started out.
Right.
But your love language is what, in your words, in your opinion?
Physical touch.
Is the physical touch number one?
Yeah.
And so for me, what I was saying is I say that my love language is the acts of service, because I'm thinking of growing up with my mom and things I would do for her. But I think that really just words of affirmation for me really does it for me more than anything, because I really don't need too much from anybody, other than those accolades, those attaboys or whatever you want to call them. So I think that more so than anything, people can get, and where I've made a lot of mistakes in my life is when people knowingly or unknowingly know my love language, and they give me those, they build up my ego, or they build up my, that part of me, and then I do shit, that the time with the thing with Ty in Dallas, where he was telling me all the things I wanted to know. Oh, you're, all the things, and I go ahead and make wrong moves based on them speaking to my love language. And he probably knew, or maybe that's something in general that people, they like to hear praise, they like to hear accolades in general. But me not knowing what my love is, so me looking at this,
I don't.
You don't what?
I don't like hearing nice things.
You don't like to hear nice things about you. Well, and that goes to, we've spoke to in the past about the love of, self-love, and that the biggest, when you do tests, that when you do a test on your true beliefs of who you are, the biggest one that most people fail is loving themselves. People say they love themselves, and they'll say they love themselves, but in reality, they don't love themselves. It's hard. It's hard to have praise. It's hard to hear good things about yourself. A lot of people can't take a compliment, and a matter of fact, you can't take a compliment. And so, but it's stuff that has been built up in you, to, think about it. Think about growing up, especially.
I try not to. It's sad.
Knowing, but especially knowing your family, and knowing, the way, and just I want to say, I don't want to generalize and say that it's Mexican or anything, but it's like, if you try to do something good, then they're like, what? Oh, you think you're this?
Mas boots,
muy chingon, whatever, right?
Right.
You're trying to be something you're not. Coconut, all these things. You can't ever do anything outside of the norm of the box without them beating you down for trying to do better, right? It's the whole crab in the bucket. They want to pull you down. So, that in growing up, and understanding the things that I understand nowadays with this, the conscious mind and the unconscious mind, and the things that we see and are programmed growing up, right? And all those things, I don't really know too much about your upbringing, your early years, other than the little bit of things that you've told me over the years. But at the same token, me making a statement of what I'm saying, as far as like, if you try to do something bigger than what the norm is, or you try to do something outside of the norm, you get called the mas putos and the,
right,
muy chingons, and who do you think you are type shit. Right. And so that goes to the loving yourself. I believe it goes, not just you, I'm saying in general, people. Because again, like I said, when I do my affirmations, when I started a few years back, but when I would look at myself in the mirror and I would tell myself I'd love you, my eye would twitch, you know, for a while, for a long time. Like I would look myself in the mirror and I'd say, I love you. I really love you. And my eye would start twitching. And I believed that I loved myself, but something inside of me was saying, you're a piece of shit. You know what I mean? And because, you know, I mean, because basically I am the real who I am, real me. I mean, I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I try to do good shit, but at the end of the day, like the real who Lawrence is I think is a scumbag. You know what I mean? And that's just my own self saying from myself, you know?
Right. I don't think you're a scumbag. I think you can be, but you're not. I don't think you're a piece of shit. I don't think you're none of that. Right. But you can be it sometimes.
That's the internal dialogue.
I see you and I see everything you do and everything you try and stuff like that.
Right.
And, you know, most people don't have that motivation, that self-motivation. So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
But, so as far, you know, just me, you know, saying it to you, not because you're my husband, but.
Yeah. Well, no, you've told me in the past, I know, but we're talking about like truly loving each other. Like you not being able to take compliments. Like I always tell people she puts up that facade. Like she's a, you know, real fighter facade, but really you're a fucking pussycat. You know, you're not, I don't say pussycat. I say she's, you know, I don't know the words that I say, but basically you're not.
I'm like a bear, a Care Bear, but like a bear.
I don't know.
Gummy bear. No, I'm just kidding.
You're softer than the facade that you put up.
Right.
And you know, it's because of
how I had to grow up.
Oh, how all, you know, mostly around what, 5 boys, 6 boys, you know, and then you, not to mention extended family and stuff like that.
Right. There's very few girls in my family. So
right.
There's a lot of men. So I couldn't be soft.
Right.
I couldn't. And the neighborhoods I grew up in, I couldn't be soft.
Right. Yeah. And then but that all plays into the loving yourself.
Right. And then so, you know, saying that and having men around and hearing how they talk about women. So that's the, I don't want to hear your compliments and all your nice shit because I know you're full of shit because I grew up hearing men talk bad about women and saying, oh, I said this and to get that and all that. So now whenever I hear anybody say anything, unless it's a woman saying it to me, I'll somewhat listen to it. But if it's a dude, I'm like, whatever, go fuck off, you know.
Always?
What do you mean?
Yeah, like a man can't give you a compliment without you thinking, you know what, fuck off, you're trying to get something.
Uh-huh.
So always.
Yeah.
You know, it's the weirdest thing that I wouldn't say, I never thought about it. Because when I say that I'm just a scumbag and I'm a piece of shit, it's because, you know, growing up as a man in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and the good years, right? Or our years and this generation that we grew up in, you know, we were all about chasing ass, you know? I mean, how I met you.
Hey, I wasn't fucking.
But I'm saying how I met you. Hey, right? I was standing out and I see this piece of chicken leg walk by, you know, basically I don't know you from nobody.
The higher part, like the thigh part.
Yeah. You know, that's what I saw. I was like, you know, and so the reason why I say that about myself is because in those years, as far as I knew, you know, you know, and you know, we were out there, you know, throwing our lines out and game fishing, you know what I mean? Get catch and release, you know, and that was what we were, that's the way that and the people around me were raised, you know. I remember cousins coming in from Texas, and I remember it was muff divers. And I didn't understand what muff divers was. I was probably 8-9 years old, and they were saying muff divers, and they were saying these different things, right? And I didn't really understand that. And but from a young age, women were real forward with me, you know. I didn't understand it exactly back then because I was young, but looking back as a grown man, I just knew I had a feeling inside, and it didn't always feel when I got older, in junior high or whatever, it was different. But when I was, 10, 8, whatever in that area, I didn't get it. And it felt weird to me, the attention. As far as the love language go and the loving yourselves, it's something that it has to be worked on. Something that it's something for me, I'm able to love myself. You hear me say it all the time. I'm my biggest fan.
Yeah.
I love myself. I'm the best. Because if I don't believe it, then who else is going to believe it?
Right.
And I believe it, but it's been by me affirming myself that you can do it. You are great. I do love you. I really do love you. And like telling myself, and then that's the hardest part sometimes with you. And we're talking about love languages, and we're talking about communication and men and women, being able to agree about things and be in harmony, or however you want to call it. And, I say that I started it out saying, I don't believe that men and women will ever agree, but I say that now, to just for the shock value, in order for us to put context about it, because I believe that men and women can. And obviously you proved me in the first 10 seconds of our interview, because you're agreeing with me, but it takes work. It takes compromise. It takes communication. It takes being able to understand love languages. It takes takes us to the second language that I'm talking about, which is when I say something to you, and the words that I say, you hear the 180 degree different. Do you know
Right.
how that happens?
Right.
Yeah.
Do I know how? No.
I mean, so like what? So when you hear me, because I'll hear you and you'll say, "I'll tell you something," and you'll basically repeat it back to me, and it's something totally different. Or you'll go, "You don't mean that," or you'll tell me, you'll repeat what I said.
I think when you say something to me and I hear something completely different, I think it just depends on my mood. Like if I'm in a fucked up mood,
Right.
and you say something to me, I'm gonna take it the wrong way, and I'm gonna feel like you're attacking me, or you're talking down, and if I'm in a good mood, I think I hear what I want to hear.
So from the woman's perspective, you being on the woman's side here for this talk and program here, so then it has to be for the men out there listening. It has to be, you have to understand the woman's mood in order for them to get to hear the words that you're saying to them, and it for register with them.
I think when you're saying it has to do with communication, compromise, and all that, and it 100% has to do with wanting to try, wanting to communicate, wanting to hear you, and all that. Cause
on the woman's side,
right? But I'm speaking for both. But I mean, in order to hear what the other person's saying, you have to want to hear what they're saying.
right?
Because if you don't want to, then you're going to hear what you want to hear.
I know that you easily slip into a subconscious mind where you're thinking, as I'm speaking to you, you start going off into a thought pattern. And so when you go off into that thought pattern, now I'm dealing with a whole nother person, that subconscious of yours. And so for me, I think it's women staying conscious, staying in the moment, on a regular basis, not just on that front, when you first meet somebody,
Right.
Infatuation side, when you first meet that person, you're boom right there. You're trying to figure each other out. You're trying to get to know each other, and you're conscious because you've got everything that you want in front of you, or that you think that you want at the time in front of you. So boom, you're right there. But as soon as a man or a woman or anybody starts thinking, and they let that subconscious come in, then that's where the disconnect comes from. Because I'm all for women doing whatever. I mean, I think that I've encouraged you all your life as far as anything that you're trying to do or wanting to do. I don't try to say, no, don't do that shit. Do I?
For the most part, no.
So I mean, I tell you to vote.
I can't. Then the government's gonna find out who I really am.
What? A Republican?
Hey, I don't speak politics or religion with family. I'm just kidding.
Well, yeah, I think that was pretty good. You got anything else you want to say? You got anything you want people to check you out on? You got any upcoming events or any upcoming?
I'm doing a book signing.
Where are you doing the book signing at? Let the people know.
I haven't. Location is to be announced.
Locations to be announced. So keep a lookout for that. Partygirl on the gram. Yeah. So it's been a good start. I think that came out good. We're gonna put this into to post and get this thing all going. Make sure to check out The Best Revenge is Good Living. Other video series coming out or other episodes should be, I don't know, something around here on the video on YouTube popping up. Go to tbrigl.com or thebestrevengeisgoodliving.com and catch the rest of the episodes. All names have been changed to protect the innocent. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.